Very much, Alyssa. Our next presenter is Dawn McCormick. Dawn is the Director of Communications with WM. She's going to share some details about the company's outlook for the paper recycling industry long term and some of the investments the company is making to support that. Dawn?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning, and I thank Jean Jones for giving us the opportunity to share some of our information with you this morning. I am based here in Florida. I spend about 20% of my time on recycling issues and recycling legislation. I'm the chair of NWRA Florida chapter. I'm pleased to do that. I'm going to share some major corporate guidance with you in terms of goals and where WM is in the industry, and then I'll get a little more specific to Florida for some of you who are interested in that. But as you know, WM is North America's largest residential recycling processor, and we continue to be very bullish on the recycling industry and are pleased to be an environmental solutions provider and leader in the space. This is a snapshot of our metrics from 2021. We're obviously putting a large focus on circularity and making sure that not only are we collecting recyclables and processing them, but that we're helping to create the demand that we need in the marketplace. We've been a little bit flat in terms of that 15 million tons of material that we're recycling every year, but WM does have a very ambitious goal to get that to about 25 million tons by 2030. And one of the ways you do that initially is to help really cut down on the contamination. I know a lot of you all deal with that in your facilities, but if we can free up capacity in our recycling facilities and get rid of that 20, 30, sometimes even 40% of contamination or garbage that's coming in the door, we instantly can recycle more of the good material and get our tonnage up of clean recyclables. So continued to be a big focus on contamination. I see the folks in the back from FDEP and some of our municipal partners here, and we all work very collaboratively together to do that on education. And it was great to hear from Alyssa about the EPA grants, because we all need to work together to continue to build up that capacity. But in a little bit, I'll get into also just the investments in new facilities that we're going to be creating. But I think, again, you'll see on the slide the plastics that we are recycling. We continue to focus on those materials, and especially even number 5 is polypropylene, a big market for that. So we continue to focus on the materials on the slide. And the other point I'd like to make is WM's really proud of the fact that the plastics that we're recycling now are all staying domestically. So the markets have grown for that, and that's great news for everyone and for our environment. Talk a little bit about the state of recycling markets. I know you're going to have a presentation on that later, and look forward to that. As we all know, pricing last year in 2022 was down. The only one that was holding steady was aluminum. And we do believe at WM that that's reflective of the state of the economy. And so for 2023, the concerns out there that is if the economy continues to slow a little bit, that the recycling markets will reflect that. Ultimately, we'll have to all work through that, but we believe that there's some uncertainty in the marketplace, and that some of those materials will reflect that globally and here in the United States. I want to really focus a little bit on the investment that WM is making in the marketplace. We really believe that obviously technology and innovations are going to reflect in our investment strategy. We've invested more than $275 million in recycling infrastructure just last year alone in 2022, and we've announced a major commitment of another $525 million of investments planned over the next 3 years. So we'll have invested about $1.3 billion in recycling infrastructure in North America. We continue to believe that the market is strong. We have a lot of folks who are committed to minimum content, both legislation and our consumer products companies that have goals for minimum content. So we know that there's an infrastructure shortage in the United States, especially here in Florida, with the population growth. So very bullish on the investment that the company is making in technology and new facilities throughout North America. And as we develop this infrastructure, you'll see a huge commitment to a lot of the technology that you'll be able to see out in the exhibit hall, whether it be robotics and AI, and also volumetric screenings and scannings. So a big commitment to making sure that we can utilize the best of the technology to continue to process. We'll be doing upgrades at 30 of our recycling facilities at our MRFs by 2025, and continue to bring a lot of the innovations that you're all responsible for here in this room into our facilities to make sure we're processing higher quality material for market. Here's a look at some of the facilities that we've recently opened around the country that include this new technology. Chicago, Illinois, Salt Lake City, and I'll have a video on that at the end of the presentation. North Carolina, Sun Valley, California, outside Los Angeles, another facility in San Leandro, and in Houston, Texas. So continue to bring those facilities online throughout the country. I'm really excited to talk a little bit today about what we're doing in Florida, and this is a look at WM Recycling South Florida. We had a big announcement at the end of last year about this new facility. It's an investment of over $70 million in the South Florida marketplace. It will be situated right next to our Reuter recycling facility that many of you know of. It's in Pembroke Pines. We had land there, so we're able to do that right on site. But this will increase our processing capability to about 60 tons per hour, and will really increase our ability to serve the marketplace in South Florida. An elevation here, look at that facility. We are expecting to get our final approvals from the city of Pembroke Pines in the coming months, and continue to work on that project, and look forward to bringing it online. It is going to be able to service not only Broward County, but Miami-Dade County and Monroe counties, and will again be the largest facility in the southeastern United States once it comes online. Here's a little bit of a look of what some of the technology that'll be inside that facility and many of the facilities that we're bringing online now. When you look at optical sorters, you have our robotics, the intelligent sorting, volumetric scanners, cameras, and really important too is the fire suppression systems. I know many of you know that are running MRFs that we all deal with the fire threat. We've had multiple fires at many of our facilities here in Florida, Tampa, Reuter, and so these systems are just really key to keeping these plants up and running as we struggle to keep some of the materials out of our MRFs that shouldn't be coming in, whether it be propane tanks or lithium-ion batteries and many of the other contaminants that unfortunately find their way in. And just a little bit of a timeline, we think we'll be able to break ground and then open by January of 2025. So that project is on a fast track, and so far so good. We're on schedule. And I just wanted to share a little bit. We're bringing in some just really sustainable practices in terms of a living wall and light and airy. So can't wait till when this facility is open to have you come and visit, because we're really putting in everything that WM has done around the country into this facility and make it the best and the brightest and the most sustainable MRF in the country. And we are going to be doing an education room, so I'll be in charge of putting that together, and it'll be focused not just on recycling, but really our whole sustainability offering. So we'll talk about compressed natural gas trucks. About 70% of our fleet now in North America is running on CNG. We'll talk about renewable natural gas, RNG. We're able now to take the landfill gas from our facilities and put it right into the pipeline, and we're doing that in Medley, Florida right now. We're starting that project. product. So I look forward to building out this education room. If any of you have done a room and have good vendors you want to recommend, I'm still in the process of finding the best people who can do a good education room and tell our story about recycling and sustainability. So if you have someone to mention, let me know. I want to make sure we do that well. And then I just wanted to talk briefly at the end about WM's commitment to always working for a sustainable tomorrow. We really are focused on the circularity of recycling, and I think I've been at the company 15 years, and it's really in the last 2 or 3 years where we've put a real major emphasis on making sure we're creating demand for these materials that we're processing. I think for a while we left that to the marketplace, and now we know we have to be part of building that marketplace. So here's just a look at some of the recent partnerships we've created in that space to make sure we're creating that demand. This is continuous. They produce a Everboard product, which is a roofing material. They take hard to recycle plastics and are able to reduce the amount of trash going to landfills by about 30%. But this is a partnership that we're very proud of and is working well. Reprieve is a company that is making a fiber that they use to create textiles. Again, they're taking plastic bottles and spinning the thread. It's a great plant in North Carolina, and we have a partnership with that company as well. Natura PCR is a company that in November of 2022 we signed an agreement with. We have a controlling interest in that company, and they are post-consumer resin. They are scaling that, and they are expected to produce an estimated 400 million pounds of PCR in the next 5 years. So another good partnership for WM in supporting that endeavor. And then we also announced at the end of last year a partnership with Dow Chemical Company, where in certain pilot residential communities we are now able to accept the plastic bags, which is a bane of all of us, and we're able to keep those out of landfill, and Dow is helping us to recycle those and use as an end product. So that's really kind of a pilot project, but we expect that to grow in the coming years. And I just wanted to highlight some policy considerations, because I work a lot on this both in Florida, but then this is really a company-wide focus on legislation and where we're trying to get policy to move. Of course, we're all in this room. We want to encourage more recycling and recycle right, and education, making sure we get the right materials. We've all been doing that for many, many, many years. But trying to promote more aggressively the purchase of recycled materials, again, creating that marketplace, and then supporting minimum content legislation or goals. A lot of our brands have goals, and now we're seeing a lot of legislation, including, especially in the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington, but to see that move across the country. Again, just a highlight of the company and some of the awards we've won recently, or recognition for the work we're doing in this field. And I want to end with just playing a short little video from our Salt Lake City MRF and some of the technology. Thank you again. I know we work with many of you in our endeavors, so I appreciate the partnerships. I look forward to taking your questions. And I think when you see that Salt Lake facility, you'll realize that the one that we're going to be building in Broward County is almost twice the size, so we're excited about that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dawn. Great story about Bullish outlook for the prospects of paper recycling in the U.S. Our next presenters are a team, Miles Cohen and Ryan Fox. Miles is the founder of Circular Ventures. He's the former president of Pratt Recycling. Ryan is a corrugated market